What's going on, guys? Jacob Orth back here with another video of Jacob's Life in Vegas, coming to you guys with another video about water here in Southern Nevada and talking about things that are important to you that are going to be living here or those of you that live here now about our water usage here in the southern part of Nevada. And I have my guest today, Mr. Bronson Mack.
What's up, Jacob?
So he's going to be helping us out today, talking about some water use here in Southern Nevada. And firstly, he's going to tell us where we at right now.
Jacob, we are right here at the River Mountains Water Treatment Facility. This is one of two water treatment plants in Southern Nevada that treats and delivers all of our drinking water to the community. This property here was built in the late 90s, early 2000s. It continues to be an intricate part of what we do as far as our water treatment processes go right here in Henderson.
Yeah, so we're in Henderson right now. Guys, we got wind going on today. We got planes flying overhead that are circling around to go into McCarran, but we're gonna do it. We're gonna make this work one way or another. Have your questions, again, that you guys asked in a video I did before. I said, hey, what are your questions you have about water usage here in Southern Nevada? We're gonna go through those. He's gonna give us the info on them, and he's gonna tell us what we need to know about water here in Southern Nevada. So here's one question that a lot of people wanna know. Who uses the most water in Southern Nevada?
Who uses the most water? Well, it's us. It's those of us who call Las Vegas home. It's the residents. Residents use about 60% of all of the water that is delivered into the Las Vegas Valley. We use that water in a couple of different ways, usually indoors and outdoors, but it is residents indeed that use the most water. And think about this. When you fly into the Las Vegas Valley and you look out the window and you see all of the rooftops that we have here, and yeah, you see some hotels, right? You see the resort corridor, and there's tourists that come and stay in those hotels.
Yep.
But as far as our water use goes, the vast majority of us here are residents, and it's us that use the water.
Okay, so residents versus tourists, what's the percent breakdown?
So residents use about 60% of all of the water that gets delivered in the Las Vegas Valley. Tourists use about 7%. So think about that. That's 40 million annual visitors that come to Las Vegas. They don't all come at once, right? That's throughout the entire year. But while they're here, the amount of water that they consume or use is about 7% of all the water we deliver to the valley, compared to us as residents that use about 60%. So our tourist population is rather water frugal, but they certainly are a big part of our economy.
Okay, cool. And then, but those tourists, we talked about this actually just before the video, some of their money they spend here via sales tax actually does help pay for our water.
Yeah. So in Southern Nevada, sales tax is split up in a couple of different ways, and a quarter cent of the sales tax goes to regional water infrastructure. So that's one of the ways in which our 40 million annual visitors can contribute to the cost of maintaining and building and operating our community's water system.
Okay, and then keeping it in line with the tourists and people visiting here, people usually want to know, are the casinos, the big casinos, the resorts, the hotels, do they use a lot of our water?
So obviously casinos and resorts are big properties. When we talk about tourists using 7% of our water, it is the same amount for the casinos, right? Because all of those tourists are staying in those casinos and those resorts. So 7% of our water supply goes to supporting our tourist population, our tourism economy, and those hotels that are down there on the Las Vegas Strip that are some of our largest employers too here in Southern Nevada. What's interesting though about the Las Vegas Strip, if we were to take a look at how much water is available in all of the state of Nevada and how much of that water we use here in Las Vegas, we use about 5% of all of the water available to the state. If we look at just the Las Vegas Strip and how much water they use less than 1% of all of the water that is available in the state of Nevada. Less than 1% is used by the Las Vegas Strip, yet it generates a significant amount of our economic activity here. So it's been a very good investment in water resources in our tourism population.
So when people see the Bellagio Fountain show going off on the Strip numerous times a day, don't worry, like the Bellagio's not sucking up all the water here in Southern Nevada.
Yeah, that's really true. But the one interesting thing about the Bellagio Fountain is it doesn't have any Colorado River water in it. There isn't any water that is in that Bellagio Fountain that came from the treatment plant where we are today. What does fill the Bellagio Fountain is groundwater, and it's a private well that is owned by the Bellagio. It's a well that was at that property when the Dunes Hotel and Resort was originally at the Bellagio property. So it's a private well, it's private groundwater rights. They utilize that. in that Bellagio fountain. And Jacob, I can't tell you how many people come from all over the world to Las Vegas to stand there on the Las Vegas Strip and watch the Bellagio Fountain show.
Yeah.
So quite honestly, the Bellagio Fountain provides a little bit of economic return for our community as well.
Cool, sounds good. Thank you, the Bellagio, for that one. So let's talk about the rates. This is something people have, especially, right, those who live here and those who are looking to move here. Our rate structure here in Southern Nevada, and how do our rates compare to other cities in terms of water usage?
Yeah, so Southern Nevada here, as far as our water rates go, we utilize a tiered water rate structure. What that means is the more water you use at your property, the more you are going to pay for that water. Those who use the least amount of water, our most frugal water users, really do pay the least amount for their water. So our tiered water structure helps to continue to send a conservation signal to our community. It helps ensure that we're more mindful of our water use, but it does absolutely benefit those who use the least amount of water. And those who are using kind of that first tier water, that lowest amount, that is primarily their indoor water use. That's what we call the lifeline water. And that's why that water is at the lowest rate possible. Now, the average water bill in Southern Nevada is right at about $40, so $40 a month. So if you've got a water bill that's higher than $40 a month, you might want to look around at some ways in which you can reduce your water use, and I bet you can do that with your outdoor water use first and foremost. But should be right around average of about $40 a month for water here in Southern Nevada. Now, we are comparable as far as our water rates go. We're very comparable to what we see throughout the West. We also have to keep in mind we're really lucky that we're in very close proximity to our primary water source in Lake Mead. So we don't have to move that water a long distance in order to deliver it to the taps in your home. And so we benefit by that by having lower expenses in the operation and maintenance activity that we do.
Okay, so speaking of expenses and the charge, this one comes to fees and charges. So people look at their bill and they ask, why do most of the costs in the water bill go to service charges?
Yeah, so when you do look at a water bill here, you're gonna get lots of different charges on there. You're gonna have the actual cost for the water that is passed through your meter and has been used at your property. You're also gonna have some service fees in there. Those are fees, the cost associated with actually delivering that water. Now, people certainly say, hey, water should be free, it falls from the sky, we should just be able to use it whenever. Okay, I'm not gonna argue that point, but there is a considerable amount of cost to treat and deliver that water. And keep in mind, we don't just deliver that water to your neighborhood or to your street or even to your sidewalk. We deliver that water directly into your home. And so the cost for the treatment and the delivery of the water is what is embedded in those service charges. There's also a Southern Nevada Water Authority infrastructure surcharge that is included on your water bill, and that is paying for the large amount of infrastructure that is being installed out at Lake Mead. And that includes intake number 3 and the low lake level pumping station, which are 2 critical projects that will help us maintain access to our water supply in Lake Mead, even if water levels continue to diminish because of the drought conditions. So the investment that we're all making in our water bills by paying those water bills is going to the maintenance, it's going to the operation, and it's going to ultimately the expansion and security of our water resources so that our community can continue to thrive.
Okay, so next part about water, as we get into the second half of the questions here. In Southern Nevada, somebody asked, do people use gray water in Southern Nevada?
Well, gray water, we probably should explain what gray water is. Gray water is water that has already been used within a home, primarily from the sinks of the home and the showers of the home, not the toilet and not usually your washing machine. So that wastewater that can occur within a home, it needs to be dual plumbed, right? So that you're capturing the water that is being used in the sinks and showers, you're diverting that water now to another location in the home where you can store it and then use it for irrigation of your landscape. We do not have gray water systems here in Southern Nevada because we already have community-wide water reuse systems. Whether you want to or not, as a Southern Nevadan, your recycling water, all the water that is used inside your home, gets reclaimed, treated to near drinking water standards, and returned to Lake Mead. And for every gallon we put back in Lake Mead, we can take another gallon out and bring it into the valley as treated drinking water from a treatment facility just like this. So having community-wide water reuse gives us more of a centralized process to ensure that all of that wastewater is being treated appropriately, that it is meeting all of the necessary federal and environmental standards, and that it is being managed in a way that increases our sustainability going forward.
Restrictions. That's something people like to know about here. Restrictions on using water, and will we see restrictions on water use get tighter in the future?
Yeah. So right now, all of our watering restrictions primarily focus on our outdoor water use. And again, that's because that's the water we only get to use once. We get to reuse that water indoors over and over and over again. So the outdoor water supply, or the water we use outdoors, is where we see the watering restrictions. And most of our restrictions are established based on the season. So depending on whether we're in spring, fall, summer, or winter, you may only be allowed to irrigate your landscape a particular number of times each week. For instance, right now we are in our spring watering schedule, so you can only water your landscape 3 days a week. And you have 3 assigned days. You can find your assigned days at snwa.com, but your assigned days are really established based on where you live. So your assigned watering days are the same assigned watering days as your neighbor across the street and your neighbor to the right and to the left.
Cool.
So outdoor watering restrictions limit the number of days that we can irrigate. We're going to go into our summer restrictions here pretty soon. They start May 1. And in summertime, you can water Monday through Saturday. No watering on Sundays, and no watering between 11 a.m. and 7 p.m. because that's the hottest time of the day when your irrigation system would be the least efficient anyway. So we've got those restrictions for water use outdoors. We also have development codes in Southern Nevada that limit the amount of turf grass landscapes that can be installed on new residential properties, and it completely prohibits any grass from going into commercial properties. What that does is it helps ensure that any new development that is coming into our valley is going to be as water efficient as possible.
Okay. So again, keeping with the theme of restrictions and things like that and costs people have that they're concerned about, will taxes be raised as a result of water issues?
Well, again, when we look at water and we look at the way in which we as a community help to fund our water system and the treatment and delivery of that water, it is done primarily through our water rates and our water bills. So as far as our taxes go, we do not really play a role in the tax side of things, with the exception of that quarter-cent sales tax that we get to support our regional water system. But there isn't any anticipation of seeing taxes increase. That said, what you see within the water industry as a whole is that water rates generally seem to increase pretty consistently with the price of inflation. Ours do as well here in Southern Nevada. So you'll see some minor upticks in water rates depending on the inflation rate each year. Could be anywhere from about 1 to 3.5% that we may see.
Okay. Now here's one that some people are probably going to hope for a certain answer on this one. Is there any plan to stopping people from moving to Las Vegas, right? If so many people coming in here from other areas, the area is growing a lot, people are concerned about water usage, some people might say, why don't we just stop these people from moving here?
Right.
And, that way we can have enough water for those who do live here right now.
Can I get all the Las Vegas natives to raise their hand right now? Seeing as you and I did not raise our hands, you and I have moved here from somewhere else.
True.
So when you look at our community and you look at the makeup of our community, you do see that there are a lot of people who have transplanted here to Southern Nevada.
Right.
People come here for a lot of different reasons. Some people come here because of the tax climate. Some people come here because, they get job opportunities. Folks retire here because they're tired of shoveling snow and they don't want to experience another Midwestern winter. So people move to Las Vegas for all sorts of different reasons. And last time I checked, we don't have a drawbridge that we can pull up and tell people not to come here anymore. So really, when we talk about growth in Southern Nevada, we're really talking about ensuring that we can continue to maintain our quality of life, the quality of life that we have all come to know, and the quality of life that we have invested in as a community. And just know that we are going to see people move to this community. On top of that, since I've been living here as a teenager, we've been talking about economic diversification in Southern Nevada, needing to diversify our economy. And we are diversifying our economy. But you can't diversify your economy without some growth. And so growth is an inherent part of a community, and especially a community that is doing well economically. Keep in mind, growth stopped here in Southern Nevada in 2008, in 2009. 2010, there wasn't much growth here either. 2011, wasn't any better. 2012, 2013, 2014. When we look at the time that we had during the economic recession and the way our local economy was here, we had an experience of what it was like to see a no growth scenario in our community. I don't think that economy worked out for a whole lot of us that call Las Vegas home.
Now, final question we have for today. Why can't we just get water from Northern Nevada?
So the Southern Nevada Water Authority does have water rights in East Central Nevada. Okay. These are water rights that are attributed to unused water within the state. The state does have a lot of water resources. A lot of those resources come in the form of groundwater. And so we do have water rights, and we are moving forward on a project to get all of the permitting done so that if and when we need to construct a pipeline and drill wells in order to bring on new water resources for our community, that we have the permitting in place and that we'll be able to do that at that time. As of right now, our community does not need additional water resources. We are not using all of our Colorado River supplies. We have a 50-year water resource plan that projects water demands for the next half century and then pairs the necessary resources to meet those demands. On top of that, we still have temporary water resources that we have stored for our future use. It's the equivalent of about 8 years supply that we have stored. So we do have plans to be able to provide additional water supplies to our community, and we're going to get the permitting done on that so that we can construct those if and when it's needed.
Okay, so we're doing okay.
Look, as long as our community keeps conserving, we really are. And look,
it's not as dire as people make it out to be.
Well, and here's the other thing. We are going to hear about shortages on the Colorado River at some point in the next couple of years.
Yeah.
And it's important that we as Southern Nevadans understand what that means. First and foremost, Las Vegas is not the cause of the declining lake levels in Lake Mead. While we have seen growth here and we've seen Lake Mead's water level decrease during that same time period roughly, the drop in Lake Mead's water level is due to the amount of water, or lack thereof, that is flowing into that river system or into the lake system due to the drought that we have seen in the Colorado Rockies. Now, shortages that we may be hearing about in the next little while are going to mean that instead of our 300,000 acre feet of Colorado River supplies, we're going to get reduced down to a maximum of 270,000 acre feet. But water use last year was about 245,000 acre feet. So we are already in very good shape, and we've gotten that way because of water conservation, because this community has a conservation ethic, because we're wise about how we use water. We're in a very good position to continue to weather this drought. But we need to keep our eye on the ball. We need all of our YouTube viewers out there that are Southern Nevadans to do their part. Save water where you can, and the best place that you can save water is outdoors. So adjust your sprinkler clock to comply with the mandatory seasonal watering restrictions. That's the number one thing that you can do to reduce your water use, reduce your water footprint, and ultimately ensure Southern Nevada continues to have a great quality of life and a sustainable lifestyle.
Cool. Well, I think we covered a lot.
Yeah.
We covered a lot for people, a lot of information for those of you that live here or are going to be living here in the near future. So to Bronson, thanks again for coming on the channel, giving us some good insight on our water situation here in Southern Nevada. I will put the link to the website down below, to snwa.com down below this, guys. You want to check any of your watering restrictions and things like that. As those change throughout the year, you can get a look at those to make sure you are compliant. If you want to make sure that you are conserving water here in Southern Nevada, plenty of things you can do for that as well. Once again, guys, thank you to Bronson. Thank you to all of you for watching. I'm Jacob. This is My Life in Vegas.